So do you know what size chassis we're looking for today?
Now, in this particular case, yes, ma'am. They give me all the information I need in my dispatch. Now, see this line here? It tells me everything I need to know. The steamship line is Mediterranean. The size type of the box is a 40 foot and it's a high cube. There are different sizes, 53 foot, 40 foot, 45 foot, even as small as 20 foot chassis. You know you have to, if you know you have to look for a chassis, you go over to driver assistance building to get what we call a bad chassis list. It's a list of all the known bad chassis that's on the property. These are the chassis. These are the pool types. In this particular case, like what we're gonna have our box mounted on the DCLI chassis. And see where it says DCLI? That's the type chassis it is. That's who owns it. And you can see there are a few of them on here. Now, there's another way it's not reliable, but I'll show you here. Okay, we go to this menu. And you see where it says bad chassis?
Yeah.
All right, I tap that in there. And then I do search. And it tells me, no bad chassis reported that match the criteria below. Here's the caution. They advise us not to use that because that's constantly changing. All of these chassis in here are bad chassis. You can see the guys in there working on them. That Con Global truck. This area is where they put bad chassis that they know are bad. Typically, any chassis that doesn't have a container mounted on it, if that's the type chassis you need, you inspect that chassis.
Yeah.
And then you, once you get your inspection, you know, you make sure it's not on this bad chassis list. You inspect it. If your inspection is good, then you can get it. But if you don't do that and you get a chassis and you haven't gotten a bad chassis list or anything like that, you can get a box mounted on that chassis and head to the out gate and they say, no, you can't leave with that chassis. You have to come back to the yard. And it can be time consuming. These chassis are available. Okay, some of them you see that green ribbon on it. And that green ribbon indicates that's a good chassis. That tag's not always on there. So there's the method of you gotta inspect it. Even if it says it's good, you gotta inspect it. But if it says it's bad, you don't need to bother. There are probably, I would say, quite a few. But sometimes based on a rail yard, you know, if a train comes in, they have to mount a bunch of containers, then that cuts down on how many chassis are available, along with the fact that, you know, the drivers are bringing chassis in and taking them out, so it fluctuates. And there are times when availability becomes low and you're really searching for a chassis. There are even times when we have to come in here and because the chassis aren't available, they will dismount boxes to make chassis available to us. You see more containers mounted on chassis than you see just bare chassis. All these mounted boxes, you know, chassis availability might be kind of on the low side. So like I said, the availability of chassis fluctuates. Normally when I come in here, if I'm looking for a chassis, it might take me anywhere from 15 to 20 minutes. But when the availability is low, it can take me from a half hour to an hour to find a good chassis because they're all throughout the rail yard. Some of these containers, as you can see, all these stacked containers, most of them are loaded. And they're gonna be mounted on chassis. They'll stack some because number one, you gotta have chassis to put them on, but then you have to have chassis for your drivers to mount their boxes on. You know, so you can see over there, they'll have them stacked as high as 2 or 3. DCLZ 413838. There's a 413527, but this one's not on there. Still got to inspect that chassis. Seems like our chassis was inspected in March of 20. And we shall be on our way.